Very slowly. It's a Gojira day.
It's always a
It's
good
good.
Gojira day.
Always good when it's a Gojira day. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday. Did you know it's Friday the 13th again after like 4 weeks? How often does that happen? I
I
ask
mean,
you.
when it happens in February and it's not a leap year, it's going to happen in March as well.
Right. It happens in March. Right. Yes, exactly. But how often does that happen? I'm sure
Tons a
somebody's
year, I
done.
think.
How many times a year?
Probably at least 2 on a good year.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, but no. That there's a Friday the 13th in February and in March in the same year. I'm guessing that's something that only happens like once a decade, or is it every
No,
7
I mean, it
years? Is it just
happens fairly regularly throughout the
really?
year. Like,
There's
anytime the
fairly
first
not.
is on a Sunday, you're going to get
No, that's not what I'm
frightened.
talking about. I'm talking about every time that there's a Friday the 13th in February, and then
Then there's
immediately
going to
again
be
in
one in
March.
March, as long as it's
Yeah,
not a
but
leap year.
I suspect that doesn't happen very often. So, but I, somebody out there knows math better than me. It's hard to believe, but somebody should look this up. Do the figuring on this, and let me know. Satan is saying that in November there is also a Friday the 13th this year. Wow, that's like 3 in 1 year. Feels excessive. It really does. So, hey, look, Chrissy's here.
Chrissy!
Good to see you, Chrissy. So there's a bunch of people here already. Sable Eagle is quoting Sir Sick for some reason. And who's cool. I haven't watched the Sir Sick video in a while though. I'll be honest. Ashley Loves Blow High is here, as is our Dodger. And Bitcores and Nitty, my co-host, one of my co-hosts for Budget Scripture Saturday, who is sadly absent this last weekend, but will be back in the near future. It's good to see you, Nitty. And Satan 616 is here. I was never here. Is here. As is John Gooderham. And look. Lil is here. And she says, was I late today? Yeah, maybe a little.
Like 30 seconds late.
Maybe that's it. But I mean, I've been later. Pretty sure I have. Right. And Simone is here. Good to see you. And Miranda Rensberger is here. Noise Ending. Intrepid Hebraist is here. Becca Bueller is here. Cenk Iger is here, and he's typing Arabic today and not Hebrew in the chat. Alias Fake Name is here, and Real Melly. Oh, and Prixie, another Intrepid Hebraist, is here. A bunch of you guys are here. That's good. I'm happy that you are here, and welcome to my channel. I stream on Friday afternoons at 2 o'clock, and usually we do some pretty nerdy shit around here when it comes to the Bible, because some will tell you that I fucking love the Bible, which is a true statement. It's because, maybe not because, but it coincides with the fact that I am also a professional Bible scholar. So we like to talk about that shit around here. I am also a Dead Sea Scroll scholar and an epigrapher, and that comes up from time to time too. And it came up last week, as a matter of fact. So this is the place for doing that kind of stuff. And I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Vishanti. Hi, Vish.
What's up?
So,
Becca
oh,
Bueller says that my hair looks amazing, and I think that's very
you got it
flattering
cut,
because I just
didn't you?
woke up and
Oh,
brushed it. That's it. I
okay. Wow, very
didn't do
good.
anything special, so I don't know if it's the water at my new place. It's not full of minerals and all that crap like my old apartment, so that might make it look better than normal. I don't know. I didn't do anything special, but thank you.
You do look great. I did not just wake up and run a brush through my hair this morning. I went with like the half ponytail today, which is actually the most labor intensive thing that I do to my hair on a regular basis. It's much easier to just do the Kimmy Geller ponytail,
Yeah.
or the man bun is pretty easy too. So, and just the toque is the easiest always. But I did somebody must have been watching
Kind
last
of did a
night. It
hair
was
flip.
it was Jenna Miru's birthday yesterday. Jenna and Oz did a stream to celebrate her birthday, and I popped in, and she asked for a hair flip. So I gave her a hair flip. But no, it's not here. This is serious. We do serious stuff here. Which
Only
brings
the
me
most
to
seriousest.
the most seriousest. It's very much so. So that's what we're doing today. I came across a video from Allie Beth Stuckey, who runs a podcast. I think it's called Relatable. And she's, a horrible person, along with many of the horrible people that we regularly cover on this channel. I think I have not. I've had an Ali Beth Stuckey video on my platform before, but it was because Jeremiah J. Johnston was in it doing something. So I've never actually covered anything that she has produced directly until today. I came across a video that she made complaining about the usual stuff that she does, like immigration and people's sexual preferences and Christian nationalism. It's kind of
Oh, is she? She's a blonde white woman, I suspect.
yes, she actually is.
What?
It's amazing, right? How that works. So, but I, she made this video to talk about a tweet by another somewhat reprehensible pastor out there by the name of John Piper, who caused me personally like psychic damage in my late teens, early 20s, and I've avoided him ever since. But native atheist wants a hair flip showdown. Yikes. That sounds, yeah, it's that could be that could be a thing. So
I'm
so
more
she was
likely to hit my hands or myself somewhere. Like, I'm very accident prone. Apparently, having weird balance and spatial relation issues is a trait of ADHD, folks. Not surprised there. Me constantly
Yikes,
hip checking
right? Yeah.
things or my shoulder clipping corners, just so frustrating.
I'm just, I am just a kind of a clumsy oaf and run into things. So I don't even have a halfway useful explanation for the fact that I, crash into things and hurt myself on a regular basis.
You could make a
So,
joke about the fact that you're a Taurus, which is the bull. You could be like, "I really am a bull
yes.
in a china shop." Ha
Yeah,
ha ha.
I really am. It's true. No, that's fun. I think Pricks, it's good to point then the now disgraced Egyptologist is probably less evil. That's true. Than
Oh,
Allie
okay,
Beth.
great. We're gonna be going in today. All right. Because I don't
So,
follow
um,
any of these
no,
evangelical talking heads or
no,
apologists or whoever. I don't
you
care.
come
I
here
don't have
for
any
that.
interest in
That's
anything they
you
have to
get it
say.
all here.
Thanks.
So, yeah, you're welcome. It's part of what I do. So, but listen, and honestly, Prixie, I get that, and for a long time, my wife was like, I think you're neurodivergent. Maybe you're on the spectrum." And I was like,
I don't know.
"I don't think so. I really don't." And, I've read quite a bit about I've never had an actual diagnosis, but I'm just fairly skeptical based on the number of neurodivergent people that I know, people, my own children. I have one kid with pretty serious ADHD. It you know it I just don't think that's it. I I think I think I'm just an oaf. That's just it. So yeah. Anyways, Allie Beth Stuckey is what we're looking at today, and I wanted to talk about this question of immigration because it's such a prevalent issue right now, seemingly over the course of the last several years in American politics. It bleeds into Canadian politics. Yes, as much as this, I continue to promote this place is great. We're not immune to these sorts of problems that are affecting
You
all
still
Western
are affected
democracies
by
right now.
the United States of America's cultural hegemony. So sorry that
Yes, yes.
my
So,
country's real shitty.
I actually don't even think we can just blame it all on you guys, on our cancerous tumor to the south. I just don't think we can. Um, we have to own some of that shit too, right? But this question of immigration, Allie Beth Stuckey is going to want to ground in the Bible. I've heard Christian nationalists try to do this in the past. They want to make the argument, they want to make the case for, a white ethno state on the basis of things that they read in the Bible. And
They just
as
won't
if you
say
are
it in that exact language because they know that it's not popular to say white ethno state. So they use all the dog whistles and they just think that, like,
that's what
oh
they
my
do.
gosh, like, I'm not being racist. Hee 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 hee.
There you go. It's true. So, if you spent any amount of time on this channel, you will recognize that this is you can get the text to say things that you want. You can find texts within the Bible to promote your favorite idea. It's not that hard. And the reason for that is because, oh wait, I've got a thing here. See, the reason you are actually able
Univocal voice.
it's because it's not that, right? It's not that. The Bible is polyvalent in terms of its voice. It is a cacophony of voices speaking on a variety of things, and also, it's an ancient text. Like, it's an ancient piece of literature that comes from a culture and a period of time that is foreign to all of us in ways that I think most people fail to appreciate or to understand. So important, an important point here is this question of the ways in which Christian nationalists are marshaling the Bible to promote their ideas about immigration. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at a little bit of what the Bible does say about the strangers, the foreigners, the sojourners, those kind of people. And as you will, be unsurprised to discover, it's not actually saying the same thing all the time.
I'm shocked.
I know,
Shocked, I
right?
tell you.
So, yes.
Dave,
Dave,
for 5
good to
beaver
see you.
bucks comments, here in the Canadian prairies, everything is great and every race, color, and creed is treated equally. Said nobody ever.
Very, very true. Yes, I grew up in the very, very racist prairies. So it yes, that was that's where I came from. So all right, do you want to pull the video up and
I
and
suppose.
we can start this. So there'll be good parts in this, I promise. Maybe not so much the video, but I've got like a whole slide presentation and everything.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
look, I forgot to correct my typo. It's also only 7 minutes.
Now, a lot of people were mad. Speaking of immigration,
great. Now I have to listen to someone doing the back of the throat like Christian baby doll voice.
It's the yeah, I mean that's what you do when you're a white female Christian nationalist podcaster.
I need to sound like I'm small and demure and like humble and passive, like a little girl, because I support a system that protects abusers and pedophiles. That's what that sounds like to me.
Could you do that for a whole show?
I probably could, but I do not want to.
No. Nobody wants to hear that.
It hurts my
Does
vocal
it?
cords
Does it hurt your
to try to do that because there's a lot of tension in the muscles
Yeah.
there, and I don't want to talk through
expect-
my nose the whole stream. So
Yeah. I expect though, if you're doing it enough, it just you do develop you probably develop it into something more natural.
is it okay when I say unhinged things about minorities? Hayden Tank says, I'll invite you on the Bible lore podcast only if you do that voice the whole time. You better pay me something.
Right.
'Cause I will not do that amount of damage to my vocal cords for free.
That's rough.
Yeah. Okay. I could do this.
at John Piper recently. Just the other day, he said, "You shall treat," this is Leviticus 19:34, "you shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." He said,
Pause it
Christians
for a
know the
second.
miserable bondage.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the problem
Yes.
with this?
Exactly. What is the problem here, right?
Like, it's don't be a dick to people because you were treated badly. Don't do that. What's the problem?
It's
She
good
asks
advice.
rhetorically.
And then he follows this up with the statement, Christians know the miserable bondage we were all in. So this is just empathy at work here, right? Yes, John Piper
Well-
is a radical leftist.
Well, remember,
said-
there's a sin of empathy.
You will see a sign in the background of Allie's studio, I think, that says toxic empathy. She wrote a book called Toxic Empathy.
Oh, okay. So she's
Um,
one of them ones. Okay. No, we dial in the
yes.
toxicity up to 11. Okay.
Yeah. So let's hear. Let's listen to
Real quick.
what happened.
It's either vegan degan or
It's vegan
vegan
degan.
dagan. I don't want to mix them. I live in Southeast Louisiana and I'm not used to hearing the racism in this accent. It is a slightly different accent. I'm used to hearing a twang or drawl, but you know.
Yeah.
All right.
We are all in. Well, John Piper got ratioed by a lot of people on X.
I'm cackling just because there's more comments there than there are retweets, but there are a lot of likes and a fair number of bookmarks. So regardless of what the actual ratio is, treating the Nazi bar as if it's like, oh, this is the voice of the populace when it's mostly bots and Nazis.
Fair.
Yeah, you really got something there, Allie. Sorry, Allie Beth.
They don't know that though. Everyone who's in the Nazi bar is unaware of the fact that they're in a Nazi bar.
Some of them are well aware and they're fine with it, actually.
I guess that's true. I guess the Nazis are. So, but then everybody else is I think less. But I mean, seriously, that's some traction. 1.8 million views. So yeah, but as
that's 1.9 thousand comments. Oh, I see the views. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong spot. Ugh.
Okay.
I haven't used Twitter in so long that I forgot where the view count was.
Find all the things. Yeah.
I'm sleeping just fine. Why do you ask? Yes.
Hayden says views are fake as fuck.
Your Honor,
divide that
lol
shit by
ratioed.
True.
Okay.
I thought most of them were not rude. You have people like my friend Megan Basham, respectively, pushing back against him. Katie Faust as well. A lot of people like
Vish.
I'm going. I'm going.
Thank you. And I would you do us would you bless us please with a snark reading of Megan Basham's tweet?
Do you have a voice preference or an accent preference for this? Because I don't know who this is, but
I think someone can help me out here with Megan Basham who knows better, but I think she's Midwestern. I don't know.
Whatever. I don't care. She's probably an asshole. Not every stranger who comes to your country is a sojourner. Some respect of our system and laws. Oh, sorry. Let me redo that. Let's just cut that. Not every stranger who comes to your country is a sojourner. Some respect our system of laws and come to be a blessing to their host nation to work hard and raise strong families. But some come illegally and they do not come to work hard. Some come to live off the system and to exploit the generosity of the host nation. Others come to engage in destructive practices that harm the citizens of the host nation. Biblical wisdom requires us to discern the difference.
Actually, very nice.
Actually,
very nice. Before we continue, I'll grab this super chat from Hang Fashi. Military religious freedom .org should be supported. What is military religious freedom period? Okay,
possibly
this is
.org.
Yeah, I think .org should be supported. They're urging lawmakers to investigate Hegseth for the Christofascist Iran rhetoric. Yeah, I have heard about this, and it sounds like it's a very small organization, but one that I would agree certainly could use ongoing support in these trying times. I'm still kind of
Yeah, translated by Lieutenant Matt the Navigator. Not every stranger who comes to your country is
Yes, exactly.
Will Clark. For 5, it's astonishing how many of the pioneers of Christian nationalism have gone hard over to the other side, almost like they're trying to dodge the upcoming collapse.
Hmm.
I mean, I've been seeing a lot of
Interesting.
clips of people who are like, I love the MAGA movement. You just don't understand how hard it is to. Baby, we know.
Yeah.
We know. You want us to feel bad for you and be like, oh my gosh, baby, I'm so sorry that you voted for a fascist, pedo protecting, greedy, corrupt,
Whoopsies.
non-businessman. Baby,
Uh-oh.
come here, let me hold you.
Mhm.
Get wrecked. Like, you intentionally ignored people who told you to not act like an asshole to folks. Like the bare minimum. And now you're like,
Bare minimum.
it's so hard to come out in these radical leftists. Get over yourself. My God. You need to not be the center of attention for 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Ridiculous. Okay. Any other
All right.
chats
So I think
before
this.
I hit play again?
No, I think we're good. This next one though has all the has a lot of these scripture texts on it. I think we should stop and look at these.
Thank you, Hayden Tank. I've ruined 10 years of Christmases and Thanksgivings. Can we talk about how much I am the victim here? Seriously.
Nice.
The thing about this tweet from Megan is when she's like, oh, some people come here illegally. Crossing the border illegally and remaining without documentation in the United States is a civil offense, not a criminal
Right,
one.
yeah.
So, P.S. That law didn't exist in the ancient world. And also, I really want to know if she cites her sources about, quote, biblical wisdom when it doesn't talk about illegality or working hard or living off the system, exploiting the generosity. Like, I want to know her sources.
These are all like
I know it's her ass.
Yes, just completely foreign concepts when it comes to the biblical text. So
Okay.
yeah.
Faust as well. A lot of people I follow who were
Another blonde white
So
woman.
here
Cool.
she's got this. She's got a list here of texts in the Old Testament. The foreigner and the sojourner are expected to respect and abide by the laws of Israel. And she's got a list of texts.
I
Should we
didn't
look
know
at these?
that Katie was an ancient Israelite. That's pretty interesting.
It's pretty good. Wow, eh? Yeah. You've got
I was
these,
also
right?
unaware. Yeah, I was unaware that
Hmm.
the United States of America was also ancient Israel. But hey, what do I know?
It has to be just like it. Vish.
I
That's the
suppose.
goal. All right. So what do we have here first is Numbers 15. It's 15, I think.
Is
Isn't
it 21 or 22? check.
Hold on. Let me
16. I was way off.
Yeah, Numbers 15,
Okay.
16. All right.
Okey-doke.
So these are passages which instruct foreigners to obey the laws of your host country. That is the claim here, right? In Numbers 15, 16. The same ritual and the same rule shall apply to you and to the stranger who resides among you. I wonder which rule that is.
Probably just
So,
any rules. You just make them up.
yes. That probably that. All right. You want to hop down to verse 29?
Boingy, boingy.
We should actually read all the stuff in between. Do you want to do that? You probably already jumped all the way down.
We can. Just I need to
maybe we
scroll
should
back up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that. So,
Go back to
verse
16.
obey the laws, right? Then it says, Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land which I am taking you, and you eat of the bread of the land, you shall set some aside as a gift to Yahweh. As for the first yield of your baking, you shall set aside a loaf as a gift. You shall set it aside as a gift, like the gift from the threshing floor. You shall make a gift to Yahweh from the first yield of your baking throughout the ages. If you unwittingly fail to observe any one of the commandments that Yahweh has declared to Moses, anything that Yahweh has enjoined upon you through Moses from the day that Yahweh gave the commandment and on through the ages. If this was done unwittingly through the inadvertence of the community, the whole community shall present one bull of the herd as a burnt offering of pleasing odor to God, with its proper grain offering and libation, and one he goat as a purgation offering. I can read. The priest shall make expiation for the whole Israelite community, and they shall be forgiven. For it was an error, and for their error they have brought their offering, an offering by fire to Yahweh, and their purgation offering before Yahweh. The whole Israelite community and the stranger, and the word here I'm going to point out is ger,
Ger.
is the word ger. The whole Israelite community and the stranger residing among them shall be forgiven, for it happened to the entire people through error. In case it is an individual who has sinned unwittingly, that person shall offer a she-goat in the first year of that purgation as a purgation offering. The priest shall make expiation before Yahweh on behalf of the person who erred, for having sinned unwittingly, making such expiation that forgiveness is granted for the citizen among the Israelites and for the stranger who resides among them. A couple of important words here. The first is Ezrach, is that which we translate as citizen. It's like native born person. And the stranger, this is the ger, again, who resides among them, you shall have one ritual for anyone who acts in error. So breaking this particular stipulation of offering from your yield gifts to Yahweh. It's very important. All right. So yes, apparently that also means that people who live in the United States of America need to follow the laws, I guess.
Well, they don't have to like do ritual stuff because Jesus.
Okay, got it.
Remember, that's the get out of jail free card. We don't have to do sacrifices anymore because Jesus was our sacrifice. Except that the New Testament can't make up its mind whether he's the Passover sacrifice or one of the sin offerings or the Yom Kippur offering. Like, it really can't figure out which one of those it is. It doesn't matter.
All of them.
It's all the same.
You just bundle them all up and there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm like, well, is he also like the grain and the wine offering when you just want to sit down and have like, hey, my life's going great. Let me have a meal with God. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just like we're having a party. Is he that also?
Could be.
Just ask questions.
Let's go to Leviticus 24:22 is the next one.
Okay.
Yes, bigger is better. You shall have one standard for stranger and citizen alike, for I, Yahweh, am your God. It's basically, it's lots of these I feel like are just going to be repetitions of the same ruling, right? Exodus 12:48.
Whoop. A little too big there. Okay.
A little bit. Okay, 48 and 49. If a stranger, this is a ger, once again, who dwells with you would offer the Passover to Yahweh, all his males must be circumcised. Then he shall be admitted to offer it. He shall then be as a citizen of the country. There's that word again. Ezrach ha'aretz, citizen of the land. But no uncircumcised man may eat of it. There shall be one.
Well, we don't have to circumcise anymore because of Jesus, but also like we can have Christian Passover Seders because reasons.
Reasons, yes. 49. There shall be one law for the citizen and one for the stranger who dwells among you. And I think it's useful to point out that these are like I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if this is there's a technical term for this, but to my ear, like these sound in a way inclusive, that in order to participate in, these aspects of and not the state, right? We're talking about the cult here. You're talking about participation in the ceremonies and the rituals. You have to be circumcised. That's the ruling. It's like it's like a provision for these people who want to do this, and it says explicitly, if you're not circumcised, you can't come to our circumcision party. That's basically what it says, right? This is an interesting text, and we're going to come back to this. Quick foreskin check before we eat, y'all. Yeah. It was I feel like this was an interesting time. Jesus constantly
I can
talks
answer
about
this.
following the laws. How Christians slithered out of that, I will never know.
One word. Paul.
True.
That's it. I know
true.
that sounds oversimplified, but seriously, Paul.
It's a good bat. Yeah.
If you
All
think
right,
he's
we've
saying
got-
to keep following laws, nah. He's not.
A couple more. Exodus 20, and it's verses 2 and then verse 10. Sorry, I said Exodus. I meant sorry. No, that's wrong. Leviticus 20, verse 2. Sorry
I
about
was
that.
gonna say Exodus 20 verse 10.
I'm just looking. I don't know
They're also in different.
the order. Why
orders
are they? The order here that she chose to list them is confusing to me, just because it doesn't really follow any. I mean, it doesn't follow
She
the
just did a word
sequence in
search
her
and copy
Bible.
pasted.
I think that must be it. But is this it here? Yeah, Leviticus 20 verse 2. Say further to the Israelite people, anyone among the Israelites or among the strangers, those are the ger, it's umin hager, from one ger to another ger in Israel, who gives any offspring for a milk sacrifice, la molech. shall be put
JPS
to
taking an
death.
L.
Yeah. You can't. I mean, everybody takes the L on this one, sadly. So far, maybe that'll change in our lifetime. The people of the land shall pelt them with stones. So, the lesson here is, no matter if you are a citizen of the United States or a landed immigrant in the United States, don't sacrifice your children. Don't do that. That
Or
would
you'll
be
get rocked to sleep, as Kent Hovind once said. That's his only funny joke,
really,
in my opinion.
That's not bad, actually. Wow. Okay. One more. Exodus 20 verse 10. The seventh day is a Sabbath of Yahweh your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or daughter, your male or female slave, or your cattle, or the stranger, the ger, who is within your settlements.
This one continues to get me, because even if you want to say that because of reasons the Sabbath is now Sunday for Christians, they still have open businesses and make people work for them on Sunday. So
That's true.
they're not following it, even if they want to quote this and say,
So-
well, it's Sunday now. Okay, well, you're still
Yeah.
making people work for you. You'll go out
You know,
and
I
mow your
didn't-
lawn or do your laundry or whatever. And it's like, okay, pick a lane.
It didn't used to be this way. I remember as a kid, coming home from, after church on Sunday mornings, we'd go to church, and then quite often we would go out with other families for lunch. And the only thing that was open on Sundays were restaurants and hotels, right? Like that was it. Gas stations, that sort of thing. But the mall,
some
because
states
we used to
do
go to
still have blue laws on the books. Which
is that what that is? Blue law?
That's what those are called here. Yeah. A lot of them are
Okay.
usually around who can sell alcohol and when on Sundays.
Right.
Georgia pretty infamously finally adjusted their blue laws about alcohol on Sundays, which is nice.
Mhm.
Some other states need to get their stuff together.
I remember when it changed too. My parents were pretty upset about the fact that there was going to be stores open on Sundays. But you know what? As with all these things, you eventually you roll with it. You get over it and you forget. You forget how things were and you move on. I mean, for most people, right? Okay, so those are the texts countering. All these were offered up as counter statements, counterfactuals to John Piper's empathy. Right? That's where we're at here. So, yeah. All right.
Reading this as an indictment on Trump or an indictment on Trump's celebration of defending our border and
defending our border from
us. I don't know if you heard.
That's right. Keep those gosh darn Canadians, those troublemaking miscreants.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. Yeah. You don't want any of this smoke.
Of course.
illegal aliens. Now,
illegal aliens. Again, this is a civil offense, not a criminal one. And all persons, it doesn't say citizens, it says in the Constitution, all persons are entitled to due process, which means you can't just bag them off the street and deport them without going through the court system. There needs to be legal intervention. So, oh no, that must violate her personally deeply held religious beliefs somehow.
Do not know if that is what John Piper was talking about in the moment. If he just had this scheduled tweet put out, I will defend John Piper more than I think many conservative evangelicals will. I think he's gotten it wrong several times when he wades into the political discussion. I've been very clear about that over the years. He's not a progressive, though. He's not a progressive. I'm not saying he's a Trump supporter, but he's definitely not
progressive. Trump supporter. I'm sorry.
So she's saying he's not a progressive.
A stroke?
And he's not a Trump supporter. So he's just a conservative, I think is what she's trying to say. But I don't know. What did you hear?
I don't think she knows what a lot of these words mean.
Theologically progressive, and the man knows the Bible. Now, I think living in Minneapolis and allowing his perspective to be skewed by liberal sources like people like Russell Moore, unfortunately, has led him to saying some things that are undiscerning.
For a second. This woman
let himself be led.
Yeah.
She's trying so hard not to say what she really wants.
But this is the crazy thing to me, right? John Piper lives in Minnesota. He's there.
So yeah, he's watching ICE murder people extrajudicially on the streets in broad daylight.
He's not sitting around watching the news to see what's going on in his home. Like he's there. Just I don't know, the temerity of some of these people to presume that they know better. that those who are in the middle of it, living it. Heaven forbid that John Piper, watching what's going on around him, would have a stroke of empathy and say, you know what?
No, he allowed himself to be led or to think differently. Allowed himself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That specific phrasing is gonna haunt me.
I don't know his motivation behind posting this, but I will take the opportunity to respond to this mentality because a lot of people do use this verse in Leviticus to justify open borders, to say that deporting people is wrong, to justify illegal immigration, and to say that deporting illegal immigrants, including pedophiles, is somehow.
Allie Beth, you literally voted for a man who is defending keeping the pedos out of jail
Yeah.
and free of consequences. Your
Yeah.
churches protect ministers in positions of
Yes,
power
they do.
who abuse their congregants when they're underage and when they are of age.
Yeah.
Your soul is sick,
That's
girl.
How oppressing the sojourner. You see this used just like carte blanche as a justification for condemning ICE or all border control. And so here was.
It's almost like they're murdering people in broad daylight without due process. I just can't,
We all saw it, right?
From multiple angles, by the way.
Yes, from multiple angles. So it really is something. It really is something.
And I will also say this because she doesn't know shit about what's going on anywhere, but ICE was on Los Angeles's ass immediately after Trump got reelected. And they murdered Keith Porter months and months and months before any of these white people. And we're still having to beg to get Keith Porter's name said in the same sentence. So a lot of people only really started to care when it's like, oh, they're murdering the white people now. It's like, okay, well, you could just tell on yourself that you don't care or listen to the Black community when they've been screaming at you about police brutality and extrajudicial murders for decades and decades. Really centuries, but, hey, I guess better late than never.
Oh. Bitcourse has noticed that she's not showing the stats on her own tweet.
Someone please go pull up this tweet. I want to see what her ratio
It would be, that would be interesting. If somebody finds it, let us know. Yes, Nitty, important public service announcement. ICE are not the police. So
I mean, they're not local police. They are law enforcement.
I guess so. But there's
So,
only, they have a pretty, as far as I understand, they have a pretty narrow jurisdiction
on
in
paper.
terms of things they can't. Yes,
That
on
hasn't
paper.
stopped them, because it turns
True.
out laws and rules only really matter when someone enforces them. So
Yeah, right. Yeah.
just saying.
Funny that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
the
here
thing I
she
get really-
has.
I try not to get frustrated, but it's like when people, that's illegal. Yeah.
Mhm.
And do you think they care? Okay. Sorry. Anyway, proceed.
So she's responding here to John Piper herself.
Oh, you want me to read this again in a voice?
Yeah. Hey, actually, that's a great idea. Yeah. Do you want to read it in your? Do you want to do the Allie Beth Stuckey voice, or do you want to do the? Somebody else.
I'm not going to try
suggested,
very hard.
Somebody else suggested Mar-a-Lago, Karen earlier. Okay. So
I'm going to make a very poor and lazy attempt to do her voice.
Okay.
I'm not going to try very hard. So if I get it wrong, I don't care.
Because it won't hurt your voice.
Maybe we're all reading too much into Piper's post, but for those who do use this passage to justify illegal immigration or to argue against deportations, keep this in mind. There shall be one law for the native and for the stranger who sojourns among you.
Thank you, Vish. Thank you. You can press play though. She's probably going to read it though, isn't she?
My response. I said, maybe we are all reading too much into Piper's post, but for those who do use.
Just from an audio perspective, she needs to push the mic away from her mouth by like 3 to 5 inches because her plosives are really getting into the mic there. That's what the little fuzzy thing on the mic is supposed to prevent and like not down, but it's fine.
this passage to justify illegal immigration, or are you against deportations? You should keep this verse in mind. This is a verse that we've talked about, and it's excellent.
Her framing is you're using this to justify illegal immigration.
Yeah.
No, Allie Beth. No, Allie Beth. They're using it to say don't treat people like garbage.
Like shit. Yeah.
Because in her
Yeah,
little peanut
exactly.
brain, you're just using the Bible to tell people to break laws. No, they're
Mhm.
telling you to, 1, stop breaking laws, and 2, don't be assholes to people.
Yeah, this is pretty on
Thank you,
point.
exactly.
We do have one law for citizens and non-citizens, but non-citizens aren't getting the due process they're entitled to.
Oh, and by the
So-
way, non-citizen, like permanent residents, those people pay more in taxes than residents, just letting you know. Don't know if Allie Beth
Right.
is ready for that
That's-
conversation. She's probably
That's kind of the
I
wild
bet they're
thing,
like
right?
stealing all our
Like,
benefits.
if you're living and working in the country, I mean, chances are I mean, very high that you're paying taxes to that government.
I mean,
Um,
if you work in the United States of America, you either have to be like born here as a citizen, or you need to have like a permanent resident card or a work
Mhm.
permit. And any of those options require you to pay taxes. So
mhm.
if you're legally working in this country, you are paying taxes.
Mhm.
So this idea like, oh, they're coming in here and they're not paying any taxes. Like, yeah, they are. They are.
And
And I can also
I mean,
personally vouch for this because I used to work at a nonprofit where I did all the documentation for people like this.
oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah. I had
Um,
to explain to someone in my family that they were like, oh, they're getting all these benefits and they're not even citizens. And I had to explain patiently. My literal job was approving or denying benefits to people. And you had to have like your social security card or your permanent resident card, or you had to be like a citizen. That's it. If you weren't a citizen and you didn't have like permanent residency or a work permit, you could not obtain these benefits. And they
Hmm.
just sat there silently, and I'm like, oh, so confronted with facts, you have nothing to say. Weird.
Yeah. So I live in a different country, and I've lived in I'm paid taxes in another different country than this one, but I suspect it's the same with the United States as it is with Canada or Norway or any other place. Um, the federal tax collection agencies are quite fastidious. If you owe them money or they think you owe them money, they're gonna get it. They just are.
Yeah.
They're not letting that shit slide, at all. Not at all.
Well, unless you're mega rich. That's the way it works here.
Well, fair. Yes. Okay. But
Yeah.
I'm
The
let's talk
IRS
about
was
the
like,
plebs,
it's
so,
too much paperwork. It's too hard.
yeah.
They just use too many shell companies. But we'll go after some rando for $600.
That's right.
It's fine.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. This is all political.
It is 1249. There shall be one law for the native and for the stranger who sojourns among you. Okay.
Yes, Allie Beth. The law in the United States, as laid out in the Constitution, which we tend to hold in pretty high regard, says that all persons get due process. Not citizens, persons. Just maybe she should go look that up.
One law. So if, as liberals do, and again, I'm not calling John Piper a liberal, but people who use that verse to justify illegal immigration, if we are going to use Old Testament law as our basis for immigration law in America today, which seemingly only progressives want to do, which is interesting, their own little fun form of Christian nationalism, then we need to look at the whole thing.
Pause.
She doesn't
What?
want to go down that road, I guarantee you.
Maybe not. Shall we go down that road? We can go down that road. Shall we? I think it's good advice.
Real quick. What do I mean that immigrants pay more taxes? They pay more in taxes because of the tax bracket set up. Like, this is like entertainers, these are like average citizens. the tax brackets that you fall into and the different like taxes that you pay, the way that those scale. If you have permanent residency, you're paying more in taxes. Doesn't mean dollar amounts, but like your percentages, those are a little bit higher. But hey, it's not like that really matters, because Doge came in and they saved us $1 gajillion by
They
cutting
sure
all
did.
the grants that had the words DEI and inclusivity and representation and all of those awful words. So yeah, don't worry, guys. It's fine.
So Bitcore's found the full tweet. What do you think?
Yes.
Should they just
Came here to see if there was a Christian point and heard filthy language immediately. Oh no, thanks. Not listening to someone try to rebuke Allie Beth with that mouth. Cope. If she wants to treat people like garbage,
okay?
I will curse.
Not listening to anything you say, because my ears are.
You said a
too
curse
sensitive.
word,
How-
therefore
my God,
everything you say
how
is wrong.
terrible.
I just can't. I can't handle it.
All
I
right.
can listen to people treat immigrants like dirt and advocate for like extrajudicial murders in broad daylight, but I just can't listen to curse words. That's too much.
Right. But I don't know. I don't think Bitcore's says you could just put yeah.
can't
I
put
don't
links in the
know that you
chat.
can't put a link in the chat. So you could just copy the stats and post that. That's probably
Yeah,
the
they don't
easiest
receive the
thing to do.
benefits from the taxes they pay. That's another thing.
Sorry.
It's like people pay into the
Right.
system and they
Yeah.
can derive the benefits from it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do that, shall we? Let's talk about the Bible. Sorry, I've just got these. These are the tweets again. So here's the texts that Katie Faust brought up. Allie Beth also cited Exodus 12 verses 48 to 49. And we will talk a little bit about that one in particular as we go here. I happened on Josh lent me a really good book titled let me get the title of the book here. Where is it?
Okay, while you do that, I will read Lieutenant Matt the Navigator's $5 super chat. Tone policing, the first refuge of those with no compelling arguments.
It's true.
Hey, if you want someone to rebuke Christian talking heads without using the awful curse words, go watch Apologia. That's his entire
there's those options out there. Yes.
Thing. Yeah.
This is not one of them. So, yeah. The Josh lent me this book that was published in 2011 called The Foreigner and the Law: Perspectives from the Hebrew Bible and the Ancient Near East. And there's one article in particular in here. So it's edited by Reinhard Achenbach, Rainer Alberts, and Jakob Horl. As I said, it was published in 2011. Achenbach's article in here is very good. It's called Ger Nachri Toshav Zar: Legal and Sacral Distinctions Regarding Foreigners in the Pentateuch. And what he's going to do in this article is take a diachronic approach to the text and really dig in to see how these ideas develop over time through the biblical text. Because as you'll recall, I said earlier, and as we discover all the time on this channel, the Bible, shockingly, has different things to say quite often about the same topic. And so looking at just these 6 texts here, and this is by far not an exhaustive list of all the discussion throughout just the Pentateuch of the foreigner, of the sojourner, the ger in particular. So this is what Achenbach has done here. He's got this lovely chart here, this figure. He has compartmentalized all the texts from the Torah which mention the ger, and he's done this with the Nachri, which means foreigner, as with the Toshav, which generally means like landed person, dweller, and the Tsar, which is like abominable person, outsider. So in this first chart, I want you to see how he's broken this up here from left to right. He's listed texts written from the pre-exilic period, pre-exilic tradition and covenant code. They stress protection for the ger. So this is our earliest stage. Then in the next stage, you have Deuteronomy, which is I believe I think he's got it at late 7th century, which continues to mandate for protection, but now has expanded that to participation for the ger. The Deuteronomistic Deuteronomy and the priestly code, protection as in Israel's own experience. So it's starting to draw now on the experience of the nation of Israel as a reason, as a means for extending that protection to the ger, to the landed immigrant. In the post-exilic, there's a post-exilic redaction from the 5th century, which now provides partial religious integration. The Holiness Code, which is written, in the later 5th century, according to Albrecht, includes religious obligations for the ger. And then finally, in the late post-exilic and priestly editions, you see an integration of the ger into these laws, into this tradition for the Israelites. This is what's really interesting here, is when you take those 6 texts that appeared in the tweet from Katie Faust, and you plot these in this chart, this is what we end up with. Exodus 15 is part of this late post-exilic priestly edition, which stresses religious integration. Leviticus 20 and 24, this is part of the Holiness Code, which again stresses religious obligations and was late in this in this rehearsal. Exodus 12 also is part of this late post-exilic edition, which stresses religious integration. And then the earliest text she cited is from Exodus 20, verse 10, which is which stresses partial religious integration, but she's missing all this other stuff. I can't help but notice that there's an awful lot. You can see my cursor here. There's an awful lot of texts appearing in the book of Deuteronomy. Nothing in any of her tweets citing the book of Deuteronomy. Feels a bit by design.
Well, that's unwelcome nuance.
Unwelcome nuance. That's the
Mhm.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, before we move on, I think it's important to stress here, maybe asking a couple of questions. What sort of a nation, on the basis of the biblical tradition, what was the nation of Israel, the Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel? Who were these people? What was this constitution? What sort of a nation was it? How was it envisioned by the writers of the biblical text is an important question to keep in mind when approaching this. And does that ever compare even distantly to the modern notion of nation states? The world that we live in is a product of, 19th century nationalism that spread through Europe and fundamentally changed the ways in which we viewed citizenship, nations, diplomacy, governments, all these sorts of things, which were inherited from a period even before that. But there's a long period of development here. Whoever said it was a good idea to base your national policy decisions on what the biblical writers were suggesting the Israelites were doing in the Iron Age?
What do you mean you can't
I
retroject post-Enlightenment nation states onto like ancient Near Eastern kingdoms? I can't believe.
yeah, right. The other thing that's really important to point out here is that all of this legal material, while I think in many respects envisions a national constitution insofar as these people understood it in antiquity, uh, these are ceremonial ritual laws. This has everything to do with the relationship of the people to their God Yahweh as that is performed in the cult, in the temple ritual, in the tabernacle, if there was such a thing. So this isn't really civil legislation. This is about being part of the cult of Yahweh, by and large. So in that vein, we can see some of this too. There's another article in this volume by Saul Ullian, stigmatizing associations, the alien, things alien, and practices associated with aliens in biblical classification schemas. And he makes this point that these terms of foreignness are often cast in terms of ritual pollution. And I've got just a citation from his article here that I wanted to read. While this denigrating rhetoric, there's plenty of texts and plenty of rhetoric throughout the Hebrew Bible denigrating foreigners, saying foreigners are bad, right? But there's, as with all these things, there's nuance here, and part of understanding this is what Saul Ullian is talking about here. This denigrating rhetoric evidently refers to what the authors consider morally defiling acts such as idol worship, and intermarriage is a big one. There is evidence that some biblical authors also sought to stigmatize aliens by casting them as ritually polluting. After the removal of personal and familial items of a Yahweh worshiper, Tobiah the Ammonite, from his temple chamber, Nehemiah is portrayed as ordering the purification of that room, suggesting its ritual pollution in Nehemiah 13, verses 4-9. If so-called moral impurity has been at issue, such purification would not have been necessary, as moral defilement evidently cannot be eliminated through such rites and does not pollute in the manner of ritual impurity in any case. As Clowens himself has pointed out, see Numbers 5 verses 13-14 and 16-18. Those were texts that were oh no, that wasn't in our list, sorry. Where a guilty adulteress said to be defiled is brought into Yahweh's presence in the sanctuary and made to hold offerings. To purify a temple chamber in anticipation of the restoration offerings to it suggests that ritual defilement is the concern. And the most likely source of that ritual defilement is the presence of Tobiah, members of his household, and possibly their personal effects. A second likely example of aliens cast as ritual polluters is Isaiah 52, verse 1. Alluding to the fall of Jerusalem to the Babylonians, the verse states that the uncircumcised person who is unclean, Aral v'tamah, shall never again enter Jerusalem, the holy city. Reading a single complex subject, the Hendiadus, the uncircumcised person who is unclean, rather than the duality, the uncircumcised one and the unclean one, is supported by the single subject of Nahum 2 verse 1, Balial, the worthless one, the text to which Isaiah 52:1 clearly alludes. If this reading is correct, the text innovates by casting uncircumcised male aliens as ritual polluters to be excluded from holy space, that is, Jerusalem, the holy city. So within the Bible, I think right away, I want to point this out, just this ceremonial aspect of what we're talking about here, by and large, does not apply to civil legislation. You will notice that where the ger is involved, where these instructions of there being one law for the native born and one law for the ger, as we've already seen, has to do with what they're doing in the cult. Performance of sacrifice, participation in the Passover. These are the sorts of things that matter to the writers of these texts. This is not, who gets to cross the border and stay
would
in the
be
country.
more like who gets to walk into your church and take communion.
Yes. Exactly. So, all right. So let's
Protestant
talk.
communion, not a Catholic one. I want to specify, because the
Okay.
Protestants overwhelmingly do not ask you, like, did you go through confirmation? Are you da-da-da-da? The ones that I'm familiar with, they usually are just like, hey, everybody, we're going to do communion. You know,
You're
if
on
you're
the
not
honor
born again,
system.
we ask that you skip, but nobody's checking. Nobody
Yep.
cares.
Yeah.
They just try to admonish
Absolutely.
you first. So whatever.
Every church that I've been in, it's like that, right? All the evangelical churches that I've attended, you're on the honor system essentially.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about the two terms which are really critical in Achenbach's article here are ger and nachri. Sorry. So we're gonna look at a few aspects of these terms in his diachronic survey of who the foreigner is in the biblical text. So he's got a definition here, and I've summarized it on the screen. I'm just going to read what he has to say. The traditional definition of the term ger means a person who, in order to protect his life and family, looks for a new home. Gerim, as resident aliens, may have their origin among related or non-related ethnic groups. The reason to look for protection among foreign people can be the threat of hunger and starvation, as in Genesis 26, verse 3, 47. He's got a whole bunch of texts here that correspond to this. It could be because of war, 2 Samuel 4:3 and Isaiah 16, verse 4, because of blood guilt. Exodus 2, verse 22, that text, that's the story, right, of Moses having to escape Egypt because he's afraid his life is in danger after killing the Egyptian overseer. Or
Hey,
the
what did he name one
loss
of his
of,
kids, by the way?
I don't know, what did he, I don't know the names.
Were we talking about the patriarch that named their kid Gershom because he was a stranger
yeah,
in that
right,
land?
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Very nice. Cool. So, or the loss of the traditional home, as in Judges 7:17, 19:1, and verse 16, and family or legal conflicts. Honestly, many of the same reasons people move around today. It just goes to show some things never change. Now, in his appraisal of this term, he starts with the earliest text, and that would be the covenant code. The covenant code is in Exodus chapter 21 through 23. Most scholars regard the covenant code among all the individual legal codes in the Hebrew Bible. That includes the laws in the book of Deuteronomy, the holiness code, which is at the sort of the core part of Leviticus. These are kind of the three big ones. Most scholars agree, I think by a huge margin, that the covenant code is the earliest of these. My friend, a friend of the channel, Joel, God, I just forgot his last name. Kuritko. I can't believe I did that.
I'm going to tell him you said that. You can remember his
Please
last name.
don't. My good friend, Joel Kuritko, I believe he's said it on this channel before. He's worked quite extensively through the covenant code in the book of Exodus. He's writing a commentary on the Septuagint text of the covenant code of the book of Exodus. He calls it dense, and that's opaque, is a good way of describing the language from Exodus 21 through 23. If you read it, if you can read Hebrew and you're reading Exodus 21 through 23 and then go on to chapter 24, you're going to notice a difference. The text is I wouldn't say it's difficult as much as it's a little cryptic and unclear. But part of this has to do with the fact that it's quite old, I think. So within the covenant code already, there is this sense of a moral law of hospitality. You see this exemplified in a lot of texts, such as here in Job 31, verse 32. Out in the open, a ger did not lodge. My doors I opened to the road. I like to bring up Genesis chapter 18 and 19, the story of
Abraham.
and I'll read some of this here. Just because I think this is a fantastic example. I didn't have this part prepared, unfortunately. Let's see if I can find it. Do we have any? Oh, here we go. I think I've got it. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
while you're looking for it, I could read a couple super chats.
Sure. Why don't you
Actually,
do
there's
that?
just the one.
Okay.
Lieutenant Math Navigator 5. That doesn't sound right. The Victorian era thought was unchanged since Adam.
Some people will have you believe that, right?
Apparently.
But those people don't know much beyond their own little bubble. So this story in Genesis 18 and 19, most will recognize the latter part of the story as the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. But the story begins in Genesis chapter 18, and it is told on the basis of this ethic, this idea that the protection of the ger, of the traveler, of the stranger wandering in your land or visiting or even settling in your land is to be looked after. It's your moral imperative. And I'll just read the first few verses of this story here, starting in Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. Then Yahweh appeared to Abraham by the terebinth trees of Mamre while he was sitting in the opening of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing over him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet him. He bowed himself low to the ground and said, "My Lord, please, if I have in this moment found favor in your eyes, do not pass your slave by. Please, let a little water be brought. Wash your feet and find some comfort under the tree. And I will bring a piece of bread that you may strengthen your heart. Then go on, inasmuch as you have passed by your slave." They replied, "Do as you have said." So Abraham hurried to the tent to Sarah, and he said, "Quick, knead 3 measures of choice flour and make loaves." Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a boy, and he hurried to prepare it. So he took butter, milk, and the choice calf, which he had prepared, and set it before them. He stood over them under the tree while they ate. Then they said to him, "Where is Sarah, your woman?" He responded, "See here in the tent." And then the one man said, "I will surely return to you at the time of life, and you will see Sarah, your woman, have a son." Sarah overheard this in the tent door, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years, and Sarah was no longer in the way of women. But the point I want to make from that text is just look at the effort. Look at the emphasis on this text, on Abraham's actions performed for these strangers, these people who show up Not even at his doorstep. They just approach him while he's sitting under the tree, trying to, protect himself from the heat of the day. Look at the effort. That's what this is. There is this imperative within the ancient Near East on hospitality. It is your obligation. It is your duty to look after people who you don't know, strangers who appear, in your territory. And the stories in the Bible to that effect exaggerate this to absurd degrees for a reason. That's just part of the ancient landscape. This is a common feature within antiquity. So that's what you see in the covenant code, this moral
Well,
law of hospitality.
I will say this, and I know how a lot of them will get around that, is we're talking about violating the laws of an entire country and crossing invisible borders. And that is one group of like 3 people approaching an individual house or tent. And in true evangelical fashion, they do not believe that systemic discrimination and things like that just exist. It's all individual choices, it's all individualistic. So, if someone came up to your house, and visited, you would take them in for food and give them some water or sweet tea or whatever. But, people trying to cross the border to do work and make a better living, no, 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 no. You need to do that the right way.
So, I mean, there's no real way people didn't carry around papers in antiquity to prove where they came from or where they lived. They just found places to live and lived there. They staked their claims. Then they made livings for themselves where they could. I feel like it needs to be pointed out that within this world, who was a stranger and who was a native born citizen was not always obvious. The text wants you to think it's more obvious than it actually was in practice. We'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end here.
If Israelites are wearing distinctive clothing, i.e., tzitzit,
Sure.
then you
Well,
could theoretically look at someone's clothing and go, well, they're not wearing tzitzit. They may not be one of us. But I suspect that's a probably fringe reading of some of these texts, because Abraham obviously was narratively before tzitzit were given as an instruction.
and I don't know how much we know about when these sorts of things. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I mean the best work on this is still Jonathan Adler's, who has pointed out that these sort of ceremonial prescriptions of Judaism did not even start to be widely practiced until the 2nd century
Thank
BCE.
you.
Very
Thank you,
nice,
Simone.
yes. We got a member chat here also from Prixie Purple, who's been a member for 9 months. Serious question. What kind of borders were there in Iron Age Israel? And not
and rivers,
mountains and rivers,
walled cities,
and walled cities. Yeah, pretty much. So, the city would would exercise influence on territory that was in its immediate environs and surroundings, and then like proper Canaanite nations, like the nation of the nation of Israel in the north, or Judah in the south, or Moab, or Edom, were places that it was like an ambitious ruler in a city would go and conquer other cities and control those. So yeah, pretty fluid. And whether you just happen to, you weren't like you just happened to be part of the place that whoever ruled the city that you were close. If you lived in the countryside, in the hill country, it just happened to be whoever was in charge of the city, and it probably didn't matter to you so much, because it was all just about the exchange of goods for you. So But moving on. At our earliest stage, I just want to make this point. The ger is the ger is featured in the text as an object of your moral responsibility to look after. None of those texts, by the way, were included by any of those people in their tweets.
Of course not.
But we'll get to some of those. So we see Nadav Naaman made this interesting observation. I think there's likely some traction to this. Where did this sort of perspective start to become a matter of heightened concern? They suggest that after 701 BCE, there was a rise of landless people in Judah with the destruction of the northern state of Israel, and then with the resettlement practices and policies of the Assyrians. So I'm just going to read a little bit here from Achenbach's article, where he talks about this. Nadav Naaman has recently argued that the reason for this development may be found in the Assyrian campaigns over Israel and Judah. The Assyrian campaign of 701 produced far-reaching changes in the society of the kingdom of Judah and gave rise to a class of poor landless people, which might not have existed on such a scale before. He rejects the theory that after the Assyrian conquest of Israel and Samaria, many refugees from the northern kingdom poured into Judah looking for new places of settlement, because this supposition is not supported by biblical texts or archaeological findings. I think it works either way, actually. However, the covenant code reflects the social situation of the foreigners. The sojourner lacked land and had to subsist by working on the fields of local people. The protective laws illustrate the condition of their life. It was necessary to put legal barriers up against the activities of powerful locals who may have exploited the sojourners and tried to intervene when the latter attempted to obtain justice in the gates. The rules on social, economic, and legal protection and care for the foreigners were reworked and expanded in the later legal collections by the addition of further ethical and religious motivations and distinctions. And that brings us to where we're going next. We see then in the book of Deuteronomy, there is more explicit, the text is more explicit in ensuring the rights of the ger in working relationships and in status as fellow brothers with the sons of Israel. Again, this is what Achenbach says. The legal protection. So I'll back up here a little bit. The law even contains stipulations that provide supplies for the needy personae miserae. In that context, the Gerim enjoyed the same rights as the poor Israelites who are allowed to share the superfluous parts of the harvest. Deuteronomy 24:19 says, when you reap the harvest of your field and overlook the sheaf of the field, do not turn back to get it. It shall go to the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. That's the ger again. Together with the Levites, the fatherless, and the widows, they have the right to take part in the third year tithes. Deuteronomy 14, verse 29. Then the Levite, who has no hereditary portion as you have, and the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow in your settlements shall come and eat their fill. So what he's saying here is that now, at the point when the book of Deuteronomy is reworking some of these laws from the covenant code, there is an expansion to provide laws for the inclusion, starting to include the ger as part of the larger covenant body in terms of the relationship to the cult. So very interestingly, this is restricted to everything except for Passover. And I want you to put a pin in that. So what I'm saying here is that in the book of Deuteronomy, there is an expansion of the rights of the ger. This is not just, be nice to the gerim who are living around you because, they're poor. This is now these people who are living among you have, many of the same rights as you do and can participate in the cult just like you do. However, they were restricted from celebrating the Passover. They could celebrate the other festivals, Sukkot. They celebrated the Sabbath. They celebrated Shavuot. They did not celebrate Matzot Pasach, the Passover. They were restricted from doing so in Deuteronomy. And we're going to come back to that. But first, we're going to talk about the Nachri. So this is another classification of people within the Torah, distinct from the ger, which features prominently throughout the text. And here you can see the breakdown diachronically that Achenbach has provided for us in terms of how the portrayal and the perspective of these people shifts and changes over the course of time in the texts. So importantly, oh dear, well, that's not coming down. Why, shoot, I have a problem here that I need to fix. I wonder if I can just do it on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's look at a definition first. And I will just read some of this from Achenbach's article on page 37. Is that right? Let's see. Apologies.
While you do that, John
Yes.
Gooderham is asking, I thought the archaeology shows the population of places like Jerusalem shooting up after the Assyrian conquest. Am I on old data here?
No, that is current, and that's what I have always. I know a lot of scholars will say that this has to do. I think it's natural to see this as part of the massive demographic shift of the destruction of the Northern Kingdom, which was the much larger, much more powerful, influential kingdom in the region, and not just Samaria either. It was Samaria and Aram that were destroyed and then occupied by the Assyrians. So nobody talks about poor Aram, but there was I think this probably produced a massive demographic shift, which did directly affect Jerusalem. Without looking into it, I'm not entirely sure what Naaman is getting at when he talks about the archaeology there. I would have to look into it further, but I think the point works either way. Even if whether there was an increase of population in Judah as a result of the activities of the Assyrians, or whether there was an increase in people who poor people without land, as Naaman suggests, unconnected to that. Again, I'm not sure how he does that. I think the point stands that either way, this produced this increased concern for the ger. So just okay. It is now. So here, just on page 37 here, Achenbach makes this point. And here I've got this as part of the definition here. The Nochri, were non-resident aliens who are not seen as a possible part of the religious community, they are exempt from local law and do not even share in the privileges of the Gerim. So this is like another classification of people. But importantly, these are people who are not permanently attached to the land. They're not staying, not permanently, at least. It is now important to distinguish between a foreigner, the ger, who lives within Judean and Jewish society and enjoys the shelter of the religious community, and the stranger, who has another social and ethnic affiliation and does not share in the settlement with Jewish citizens. This is the Nachri. And if you take a look at a text like Numbers chapter 15, verses 14 to 16, you see that there's this shift that takes place within the perspective of the ger, which actually produces this new category of the Nachri. And when a ger, or one who has taken up residence with you, might dwell with you for your generations, if he makes fire a pleasing odor to Yahweh, just as you do, so shall it be. In the assembly there shall be one rule for you, and one ger to the other, a perpetual ruling for your generations. As for you, so shall it be for the ger before Yahweh. One Torah and one mishpat, or judgment, shall be for you and the ger who is with you. So what's happening here is, with this expansion, with this inclusion of the ger now as part of the ceremonial cultus in the book of Deuteronomy, this kind of creates a new classification for people. These are where the Nochri come from in the perspective, in the minds of the biblical writers. These are the people who are neither native-born citizens nor Gerim. They're not permanently established within the land. They're understood to come from outside, and the expectation is that they're not staying. So citing Milgram here, he says that the non-Israelite resident who worshipped Israel's God was subject to the same sacrificial laws now, according to the book of Deuteronomy. And we see revisions of this. This is what scholars will tell you, such as here in Numbers, such as in the text from Exodus chapter 12. These are probably revisions by later editors on the basis of Deuteronomic rulings to earlier texts. So the Nachri, unlike the Gerim, are not permitted inside the temple precincts at all. So the ger now is allowed to participate, like I said, in all the elements of the cult except for the Passover, right? And now this is different from the Nochri. However, there's this really interesting development at a much later period in time that we see in Trito-Isaiah and 3rd Isaiah. So this is post-dating. It may be late Persian, might be even early Hellenistic. I think you have a text like this. So this is Isaiah 56, verses 6 to 8. Look at this. And the sons of the Nochri, it's actually Bnei HaNecher, who join themselves to Yahweh to serve him, showing fealty to the name Yahweh and to be his slaves. All who keep the Sabbath and do not profane it, who hold fast to my covenant, I shall bring them to my holy mountain. I shall gladden them in my house of prayer. Their offerings and sacrifices I will find favor on my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. That's a famous passage that was quoted by Jesus, I believe, when he chased all the money changers out of the temple. Their offerings and their sacrifices will find favor on my altar for my house. Yeah, right. I said that already. An oracle of the Lord, Yahweh, who gathers the outcasts of Israel. I will yet gather to him besides those already gathered. This is really interesting to me, because throughout the text that were produced in the in after the book of Deuteronomy, you see this new distinction between the Nochri and the Ger as a means to show the cultic protections that are provided for the Ger. Anybody who is, like I said, outside of the native born and outside of those permanent residents cannot participate in any aspect of the cult. But look at this. At this very late point in time, Third Isaiah seems to be making these same protections for the Nachri. It's like a new innovation, very similar to the one that took place in the book of Deuteronomy. You stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your God, your top men, your tribes, your elders and your officials, every man of Israel, your children, your women, and your ger who are in your camp, from those who cut your wood to those who draw your water, to enter into the covenant of Yahweh your God and into his oath which Yahweh your God is cutting with you this very day. By the way, this is a literal translation towards the end of the passage here. When your English translations say that somebody is making a covenant, either with Yahweh or with one another, the verb there is karat, to cut. And this is very intentional. It's very visceral. I think it's an excellent perspective of what's actually going on here, because the sign of the covenant with Yahweh in particular is circumcision. It's cutting. It's literally cutting the piece of the foreskin in order to show your fealty to Yahweh. So that's why we see this verb used with making covenants all the way throughout the text. But what's happening in Isaiah 56, verses 6 to 8 with the Nochri looks very similar to what happened with the Ger in Deuteronomy 29, verses 9 to 11. Now, this gets very, very interesting when you compare this text in Isaiah chapter 56 to a contemporary text in Ezekiel chapter 44. Look at this. Say this to the rebels, to the house of Israel, so says the Lord Yahweh, too long, house of Israel, have you persisted in your abominations by admitting sons of the Nochri, uncircumcised of heart, uncircumcised of flesh, to be in my sanctuary, to profane my house when you offer up my food, fat and blood. They have broken my covenant through all your abominations. You have not kept charge of my sacred watch, but you have appointed these men as keepers of my watch in my sanctuary in your place. Now, can those be two more opposite things on offer here? That's kind of wild, if you ask me.
Like y'all aren't even doing ritual practices. You're just having foreigners do it.
Yeah. But Isaiah's going, no. The temple's open to everyone. Whether you're circumcised or uncircumcised, you can come in.
But I mean, coming in, for instance, like to the temple grounds, like within any of the courtyards, that feels different than Ezekiel talking about appointing foreigners as keepers of the watch in the sanctuary. Like, not just showing up to, because it's talking about like these people who
I think there's
are offering up
he
ritual
does
offerings,
say
but
by
they're
admitting
not
sons of the Nochri. And it's literally, the verb there is the Hifil form of bo. Literally letting them enter in. Like, there's two things he's saying there. Yes, he said in the second part of the oracle, it's actually a second oracle there, right? He says you've gone so far as to put them in charge, but before that, he says no, you've let them in. You've Where is it? Yeah, by admitting the sons of the
To me,
Nochri,
it
by
feels
letting them
like
in.
it's not just like letting them in on its own. It's letting them in and replacing like native priesty type things. It's like you're not even doing them, and of course, if they're doing them, they must be doing them wrong, and it's making it profane. So it's like you're letting strangers in to do the stuff you should be doing, and they're not even doing it right, which is like effing up the whole system. So, because it's like keepers of my watch, my sanctuary in your place. So it's like you don't even want to do it. Like
Yeah.
maybe they're lazy, maybe they
Well,
just don't care. It feels like there's a difference in like what the base problem is
well,
to me, at
the
least.
scholars suggest that this is an ongoing issue
Hmm.
of understanding who's allowed to be in the temple. And I'll just read a little bit of this here. All right, so where do I start here? Verse 40. I should have okay. One of the first consequences of the creation of this category, the Nochri, as well as, is this the right text? Let me just double check here. Yeah.
When
page
was Ezekiel
39,
written, by the
40.
way? Like approximate era?
Well, so I mean, the earliest portions of Ezekiel go back to probably the early Persian period, maybe even some of the layers back to back to the exile. But then there's a redactional history within Ezekiel too, where
What
this
about
is there's a
this,
lot of stuff within the text
like
that's
this
going on
passage?
into the late Persian period. I don't know specifically on this one,
Okay,
but so
curious.
unfortunately, but this is importantly one of the things that scholars will observe too, is that the text of Ezekiel is a text that was written, collected, and redacted by a particular group within the Jerusalem, the post-exilic priestly group known as the Zadokites, who were
Mhm.
kind of these pretty fundamentalist, I guess you could say, types. And I'll just read here what Achenbach says about this particular text. Yeah, exactly. I think this has to do with factional disputes with regards to what's supposed to happen in the temple.
Because I
There
know
was
there are conflicts a lot you see
oh
in the
yeah.
later periods between, like, for instance, the Shiloh priesthood and the one that's in Judah. And
Mhm.
after, Ezra, Nehemiah, Josiah, they're like, oh no, we're doing everything in Jerusalem. Everything is here. No more
Yep.
altars anywhere else. Then suddenly the priesthood who had been up in the hill country, up in like, the northern part of the region, it's like, oh, well then what are they gonna do? And
Yeah.
if you have a people who have been occupied and a bunch of their folks taken away or whatever by Assyrians, then in a way they are strangers. Like they had a lot of their cultural and ritual life interrupted as it relates to Judah. So, like we were talking about this a little bit before the stream, is there a distinction here between Ger, meaning someone who's not of Israel or Judah? Or is it Ger who is, hey, maybe it's a northern country person that is trying to like do cultural and ritual things with Judah, and for whatever reason that's not seen as being in the same camp.
Yeah. So there was a fundamental opposition, I'm just reading here from Achenbach's article, to this religious and political move to open the temple to non-Israelites. The opposition took place within Zadokite circles, who staked out their position by means of their Fortschreibung of the message of the book of Ezekiel in Ezekiel 44, verses 5 to 15.
Can you
For these
translate that German?
priests, yeah, no, I have to look that one up. Let's ignore it. For these priests,
I'm sure it's not
the
important.
admission, it's not. The admission of foreigners in the sense of non-resident aliens to the cult is a horrible to'eva. And then he just cites this passage here. The radical Zadokites blame the Levitical priests of the Jerusalem temple, whom they consider to be representatives of the rebellious house of Israel, for having broken the covenant by giving their permission to foreigners to bring their offerings. Michael Fishbane has pointed out that indeed the fact that the oracle in Isaiah 56 permits all strangers, B'nai Necher, to serve in the shrine, while that in Ezekiel 44 restricts cultic roles to certain groups, suggests that we have here hit upon a live post-exilic issue. It has been realized by several scholars that Isaiah 56, 1-8, and Ezekiel 44, 6-15 represent different scribal sources from opposing priestly parties arguing with each other in an ongoing dispute during the second half of the 5th century. The scribes who produced the Trito-Isaianic collection and its successive editions take up the position already known from the priestly code of the Hexateuch redaction, which stressed the commandment of the Sabbath as the requisite commandment for the Gerim in Exodus 20:10 in connection with Exodus 20:11 and Genesis 1. R.D. Wells described this position of Isaiah 56 verses 1-8 as follows. Here, the axial position of the Sabbath reorders everything. The hallowing power of the Sabbath observance breaks down proposed limitations of the worshiping community on Mount Zion. The main point of criticism against the practice, just a minute, of Levitical priesthood, according to Ezekiel 44, is that by permitting foreigners, the basic Torah of purity has been violated because these foreigners were not circumcised externally, according to the flesh, nor internally, according to the hearts or their minds.
Well, this is timely. People who are like, ew, foreigners.
Yeah.
Ew, immigrants. Yeah. They're dirty and they ruin our pure rituals in our pure country.
They were fighting about this shit.
And they were fighting over it. And a group of people that's like, no, actually, yeah, whoever wants to like come worship and pray,
they can come in.
Bring them in.
Yeah.
Just do it.
So, and I suspect too, when it comes to a lot of the so-called New Testament ethic, with the expansion, with the inclusion of Gentiles in the new covenant, is stemming from this sort of a mindset that everyone is welcome in the temple. It's sort of
just for us, moving, or is it for anyone?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you see the same sort of thing happening in a different way in later rabbinic Judaism as well, right? This adoption of of becoming more inclusive to everyone in your religious prescriptions.
Yeah,
so
it's so interesting to be able to read like these active disagreements in philosophy when so many people who are and are not confessing Christians are like, there's just one opinion. It's all bad, or it's all xenophobic, or it's all this.
Yeah.
No, they're literally recording the alternate positions for you.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Before we finish up with the slides, let's get back to Allie Beth is going to talk about this particular text a little bit, and I want to hear her say her things first before we delve into Exodus 12, 48-49.
All right, I'm gonna have to re-share the screen.
Sorry about that. It's
gosh.
I know.
All right.
It's terrible of me.
Let's see if I can make this full screen again. Okay.
If we are going to use Old Testament law as our basis for immigration law in America today, which seemingly only progressives want to do, which is interesting, their own little fun form of Christian nationalism, then...
Did I hear that correctly? that she said progressives have Christian nationalism? Did I make that up? Let me
Yeah, they're doing their own Christian nationalism
Fun
because
form
they're
of Christian
basing
nationalism.
yeah, they're basing their policy on these old readings from the Old Testament about
Okay.
being nice to poor people and foreigners. It's Christian nationalism.
I don't think she knows what words mean.
No.
I don't think she
No.
knows how people are using them.
She
because
does not.
in her mind, she's one of the people who thinks liberal is bad. It's just another
Yes.
word for bad. Progressive is bad. It's a fancy word for bad. Christian nationalism, people use it to mean something bad that they don't like. So I'm going to use it for something that's bad that I don't like. She doesn't know what nationalism is. She probably doesn't care.
No, she has no idea. She goes on. I just ignored that. She has a whole thing after her bitching about John Piper's tweet about Christian nationalism, and I mean, I just ignored that. But
this is something that I've brought up in classes where we're discussing the Ben Sora Umore, like the stubborn and rebellious son, and anyone who shows up knowing absolutely nothing about 17 plus centuries of Jewish dialogue will go, see, the Bible says that you're supposed to murder your kid if they don't listen to you, as if no one's ever bothered to discuss this before, right? And the story in the Talmud that uses this as the framing issue is like, hey, the text is describing all these specifications. There's no way for any one person to meet all these specifications. There's just no way. And they're like, well, then why is it in there? Right? So there's a whole other discussion that's going on. And whenever I come back to that particular passage, the reason they're discussing it is because they're like, yeah, we don't really just want to kill our kids. What reasonable, rational person would want to do that? So they're having a discussion about like, okay, well then what's going on here? How do we wrestle with this? And it gets down to like your attitude about this text. Why are you trying to read it a different way? If it's because you fundamentally want to treat people better and you don't want to be, oh, sorry, bad language offends people. You don't want to be mean and violent and rude to them. You don't want to be a jerk or a big meanie face to other people versus, well, it says what it says. You just have to deal with it. Even if it makes somebody treat you like crap. Oh, wait, is that a word that they don't like? Crap? Is that too close to
maybe it might
they treat you like dirt.
Yeah. Before you press play, I did notice you asked Simone about this, and she said not that I know of. She said, but listen, 164 BCE, Antiochus Epiphanes entered the temple precinct and basically performed rituals in the Jerusalem. And now, how much of that? And I from an historical perspective here too, right? The sources we have of this are not great. They're it's all Hasmonean propaganda. Is all we have.
That's where I was going with that.
So what actually happened? And historians have mulled over this question too, of how much this was just, was this just Antiochus aggressively promoting Hellenism within Jerusalem, or was this just the population, the Judean population of Jerusalem going, Hellenism looks fun.
Why not both?
Do that. Yeah. So
I mean, honestly, it wasn't uncommon for people to worship, various gods from different regions and just be like, well, I mean, here's an altar. I could use it for whoever. That wasn't some weirdo idea at the time. It was actually kind of weird for people to go, no, this is exclusively one god's altar and one god's cult, That was kind of the weird idea. Hashtag.
Yeah.
But
it was.
It's like, Simone had earlier brought up Maccabees, and that's where I was starting to go with that, is like, okay, well, during the Hellenistic period, we have these other people coming in. We have, quote, Judean compromisers and Hellenists that are doing things that aren't great, but this could very well fit within that particular cultural milieu. Is these two prophets arguing about, is that okay or not?
Yeah. So, all right.
Okay.
Press play.
We have to go back to our-
Yeah, right. Yes.
Then
Liberal.
we need to look at the whole thing, because there was no tolerance of illegal immigration in ancient Israel.
They didn't have illegal immigration, Allie Beth. That's not something that existed.
Yeah, no.
Because they didn't have nation states. Okay.
No.
Oh my God. This is so frustrating.
None. If you were a migrant, I mean, there was lots of different definitions of sojourners and foreigners and merchants just passing through and all of that. But if you were to live among the Israelites, you were required to be circumcised. That would be a good deterrent, actually. Like,
you don't have to be circumcised. It's just if you want to participate in like Passover.
Yeah.
And if she's going, that would be a good idea, actually, to make circumcision.
Here she is advocating for
people. Hey, if you're going to illegally immigrate into the United States at the border, you're going to be circumcised.
Does she know how many Christians circumcise their kids? Do you think she knows
that there's a lot or not many? So I'm.
Do you think she knows at all? Does she think that's just a Jewish thing?
I suspect. I mean, that she's advocating for it, right? She's saying this is something we should be doing.
Well, that would be a good barrier.
So
okay,
yeah.
So then, again, follow this to its logical conclusion. How many people groups practice circumcision?
Most.
I guarantee she's not going to like all of the groups that do it. No. So making this a barrier to entry to the United States of America is not going to work out for her.
Not so much.
So if we want to apply Old Testament law to current American immigration.
Oh, and by the way, Allie Beth, her New Testament says, ostensibly from the mouth of Paul, that if you circumcise people, then you're crucifying Jesus again. So are you sure you really want to do that? Are you just like blocking people off from becoming like true believers in Jesus? That's exactly where I was going with that. See?
Yep.
Say 10616 and me, same page.
Yep.
I can guarantee you she's not going to be down with that.
She is not. Press play.
Okay.
Immigration policy, that's a conversation to have. But they also had to follow the laws about food and marriage and sexuality every single.
And you're not going to want to do that, are you, Allie Beth?
But that's the thing.
You're going to be like,
right?
We should make circumcision a good barrier for entry to people who want to like enter this country, but I'm not going to stop eating pork. Well,
again. These are ceremonial laws. These are ceremonial laws. There weren't people, probing the countryside to make sure that, you were eating beef instead of pork.
Entire pits of pig bones in this area. We know that they were eating pigs. Yeah. Religion for Breakfast has a whole video on the development of the pork taboo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guarantee you she's not going to want to keep the Sabbath. She's not going to want to stop eating pork and shellfish or whatever things. She just wants to treat immigrants like dirt because they don't do it the right way.
See, it does sort of sound like this, Jar. which is the worst timeline. So
one of them. We can also see throughout the Old Testament this principle, and I just thought of this today. I wish I would have written this in my book, but something that we see over and over again in the Old Testament is that lawlessness equals lawlessness. So
what? Did she really just think she had something there?
She did.
No
She
walls, no laws. Ugh, nailed it.
did.
Is she going to cite any sources? Let's find out.
So without
Nehemiah.
a border, without a wall, without a
Mhm.
barrier of protection, you
Oh,
get
and
chaos. We
Proverbs.
can see this.
You're just a racist.
Mhm.
She's just a racist. See, the border wall's good, actually, because it protects us from the evil, lawless foreigners.
Yeah.
Great. Canadians are evil, lawless foreigners, too. Oh, wait. Uh-oh.
Yeah, she did.
She's just a racist. This is ridiculous.
In the book of Nehemiah, how a strong border was a signal to the enemies. Hey, don't mess with us. Don't mess with our women.
Allie Beth, do you know it was just the cities that were walled and not an entire freaking country?
I'm not
That's
sure she
expensive.
understands that. Yes, it's quite something. Yeah. Yeah.
Woo! This is awful.
Don't mess with
It really
our
is.
children, because this is a symbol of God's.
I just needed to stare into the camera a second when she's like, "We need to protect our children." Who'd you vote for, Allie Beth?
Provision for us. In fact, we read in Proverbs that a city or a man without self-control is like a city without walls, because you're chaotic. You're a danger to those around you.
Why is it that the man without self-control? Is it because he hurts other people? Do you think maybe that's where they were going with that? Rather
Yeah,
than
that could
other
be
people
it.
are hurting
Yeah.
him? Because that's
Right.
self-control, not boundaries. I don't think she knows what
True.
those are either, but whatever.
I'm sad, Lieutenant Matt the Navigator,
Oh
that you
no.
have lost power.
Lost power.
So
Dang.
hopefully it comes back right away. And Ninjester for
Darn
$2.
Israelites!
Darn
break laws of
Israelites!
Jericho.
Freaking laws.
But see, God said that they could take it over. Oh my
That's true.
gosh, it's okay
You
to
can-
commit genocide when God says so.
You can break those walls. That's all good.
the Great Wall of
Yeah.
Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
this is the thing. Daniel's correct. They're expensive to
Mhm.
build, expensive to maintain, expensive to staff. Hadrian's Wall didn't last that long.
Sure didn't. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Like-
still, right? They just always have been, and they always will be, because I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of what they're discovering on the southern border there of the U.S. as well. And there's other. Think of the Berlin Wall, famously effective wall that they had to. They literally mowed down. Was it? It's like 30 or 40 meters on either side of this wall, where nothing lived, like just nothing. It was just a
Yeah.
dead zone, because that's the place where they want to see you so they can kill you on sight.
Oh, I have a whole thing about
they're
like the
trying to build a
Southwest
wall in they're trying to
territory.
build a wall in Jerusalem, right, to separate the West
mean-
Bank from it's all
yeah.
it's
But see, here's the
costly,
thing. Here's what's
and
funny
it's-
about that. You mentioned Jonathan Adler earlier, is that like he lives in the West Bank, which is illegally occupied. And because he is an Israeli citizen, he gets to drive on the nice roads, while people who aren't Israel citizens, usually just Palestinians, they get little shitty roads with lots of checkpoints. So you can occupy someone else's territory and drive on nice fancy paved roads that you can basically just express lane and zip your way around places, and everyone else gets the crap, the leftover roads. So that's fine.
yeah. Big course points
also-
out that the Korean DMZ is kind of like that too.
Yeah, the war's on pause forever. Nobody wins.
Right.
Simone, by Amaran and I, by Amaran and I, Moshe Lamore, to Beryl B'nai Israel, Marteliahim. Please have your papers
Just
ready
have your
when you
papers
cross
ready
the
when you cross
yard.
the Jordan. Yeah, exactly. All right. I have a few things more to say. Actually, you know
Okay.
what? We could probably just drop the
listen to her
video
anymore.
at this point, because it's pretty.
She sucks.
You know what that's about. Yes, she sucks.
She sucks. She's a
So-
racist and a bigot. There, done.
Yes, she is. Absolutely.
I'm not a racist. I just think people should follow the law. And if like we're gonna be quoting the Bible, we should just be like quoting it for all of the super strict things. I
That's
didn't say it
right.
was about race. I just only care about the borders in Mexico because the evil drug traffickers.
So this is the thing that I find particularly interesting with regards to this text in Exodus chapter 12, right? This distinction between the Nachri and the Gerim on the basis of this late developing situation in which the Gerim are being integrated into the ceremonial aspects of the cult. And Exodus 12 is the text that sets the condition of participation for that. And they set it as on the basis of circumcision. The sign that's here we have it. We saw it actually in Isaiah 56, 6-7 and Ezekiel 44, verses 6-8, right? You were prevented. Ezekiel is complaining that the uncircumcised are being entered into the temple precincts. And Isaiah is saying that not everyone's good. You can all come in. Exodus 12, verses 48-49 is part of this very late development layer, right? If a Gerd is settled with you and he participates in the Passover of Yahweh, remember, in Deuteronomy, the Ger was able to participate in all the elements of the cult except for the Passover. This is another change, right? A change later in time, including the Ger as a participant in the Passover, is made on this condition: all his males are to be circumcised. Only then may he approach to participate. Only then shall he be like a native of the land. But all those uncircumcised shall not eat with you. There shall be one Torah for the native and for the Ger who is among you. So
I mean, that means
this
Egyptians are good. They practice circumcision.
I guess that's true. That's probably true, right? So the holy did I read that? Let me look at that. Page 40-41. Yes. So just continuing here. Consequently, well, let's just back up. Yeah. One of the first consequences. So this Achenbach sees what's happening with the text in Exodus 12 as a development after the holiness code was starting to be read alongside and integrated with the covenant code and with the book of Deuteronomy. And he says this: one of the first consequences of this was that scribes had to find a way to integrate the Gerim also into the most Israelite ritual, the ritual of Passover. According to the expansion of the priestly code in Genesis 17:9-14, circumcision was the distinguishing mark of those who were integrated into the covenantal religious rites of the heirs of Abraham. Consequently, Exodus 12, verses 48-49 requires circumcision for those strangers who want to share in the Passover ritual. There you have it on the screen. The author of Exodus 12:49 formulates a religious rule that goes even beyond the concept of the author of the edition in Deuteronomy 29:10-12, which we read earlier. The ger is not just acquired with certain protections or even the privilege to be integrated into the cultic ritual, but the text creates the possibility of a full integration of foreigners under the sacred law of Israel by demanding circumcision from the beginning and making the Passover ritual to be the benchmark to signal the degree of integration. The redactor states that from the beginning of the Exodus, the Gerim had to be circumcised then when following the Israelites in their religious rites. The commandment is also includes the demand for purity among the celebration of the Mazot week for the Gerim in Exodus 12, verse 19. From that point onward, all participation of the Gerim was considered to be possible only under the circumcision, the condition of circumcision. So this is very interesting to me, that even the ritual of the Passover, which was set aside for just so-called native-born Israelites, eventually comes to include the Gerim, and on the basis of this ritual of circumcision. So now I want to finish up here with something that that Achenbach says close to the end of his article here. Just make sure I get the paragraph right. Okay. So these distinctions were confirmed as part of the Mosaic Torah. This is important because remember when we started, I asked these questions. I asked people to think about what sort of a nation was Israel in the minds of the writers and in reality too, right? Does it even compare to distantly to modern nation states? Here Achenbach says this: these distinctions were confirmed as part of the Mosaic Torah at a time when Israel did not have sovereign rule of their own land. That seems kind of important when thinking through this material. The Holiness Code alters the situation by a fundamentally religious interpretation of land ownership. It is not that Israel is a non-sovereign tenant of the land because there are foreign leaders, but because the land is owned by God himself. This means that according to the Holiness Code, a pagan regime cannot really, in a religiously binding sense, be owner of the land of Israel. Leviticus 25, verse 23 says, the land must not be sold beyond reclaim, for the land is mine. You are but strangers, Gerim, resident with me. Consequently, the social status of a slave cannot be applied to the Israelite brothers and sisters. If they fall into economic need, they keep their ethnic religious status as brothers and share the social economic status comparable to a ger. When the case is discussed that an Israelite could become a debt slave of an alien, this shows that at the time of the conflict, at the time of the codification of the Holiness Code in the context of the Pentateuch, the Gerim could have reached even the social status of rich persons who owned Israelites as avodim. So this is especially if we're going to try and mind fuck our way around applying
bad words.
the prescriptions, to applying the prescriptions of the Bible to modern geopolitics. If we're going to do this, think through what this means. Because, and if we're going to be real about this, when these texts were written, the people who were writing them were actually the Gerim. They were the ones who were in a land now controlled by foreign rulers. They were the ones who were subject to the rules of another nation, even though they hadn't moved anywhere. And it's under these conditions that that these texts developed, and I think that's very telling. I think that's it. Yeah. The land cannot be owned by pagan rulers. It belongs to Yahweh. Special conditions that do not ever apply to any other territories or governments, importantly. That's something else that keeps being mentioned by these types like Allie Beth Stuckey, as if these laws are supposed to be examples for every nation state. No, the whole point of the holiness code is because this particular land is holy. It's set aside. It's Yahweh's. Because of that, you have to observe these special rituals and prescriptions and conditions in order to ensure its purity. This did not apply to any other place, and they did not care. This is all about keeping the land pure for Yahweh. Would eunuchs be considered part of the Nachri?
Got your answer right here.
There you
Literally
go.
in Isaiah 56. Don't let the foreigner say, who's joined to God, that God will keep me apart from the covenant people, and let not the eunuch say, I'm a withered tree. For thus says Adonai, as for the eunuchs who keep my Sabbaths, who have chosen what I desire and hold fast to my covenant, I will give them in my house and within my walls a monument and name better than sons or daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not perish. As for the foreigners who are joined to Adonai to render service and to love Adonai's name, to be devoted slaves and who keep the Sabbath and don't profane it, etc., etc., etc. We'll let them go to my secret.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. So,
I should have read the beginning part.
so
But
no.
thank you for reading the beginning part. That's excellent. So, yeah, when people attempt to invoke the ceremonial regulations of the law codes as a means to suggest that this is how we should conduct foreign policy, like this is just we all understand this is nonsense. I wish Christian nationalist types were better at actually reading their Bibles. That would be great.
The thing is, they like reading it as long as they can use it to rule with an iron fist. Because notice when Allie Beth quoted scripture, she was like, you're just not doing it strictly enough. That was when she wanted to quote it. But people going, hey, quoting scripture in order to treat people less like dirt, to her, unacceptable. You should be more strict. And I guarantee you, if she wants to say, oh, well, if you're going to quote it, you should follow it strictly, she's not going to want to do that. Because Christians have spent 2,000 years going, yeah, you should do this except for this. Because Jesus. Well, you should do these, well, except for Jesus. And it's like you want all the good stuff and no responsibility. So she wants strictness for other people, not for herself. It's rules for thee, not for me.
Not for me. Very true. All right. I think we got a couple more super chats and then we'll wrap up here. I think I'm redirecting to, is it just the one?
Oh, it's just two. Yeah. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 5. Airport says we're rocking 53 knots of wind right now. Good
Jeez. Wow. Hey, this happened in my neighborhood 2 nights ago. I thought for sure I was losing power and I could hear the windows, like, you know, when they do that blah, 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 kind of sound when the wind is blowing that hard. And I woke up in the morning. I don't leave my house, but my tenant who lives in the basement, she took her kid to school, and a neighbor 3 doors up from me and across the street lost the whole tree was just yeah, it just in there. Wild. Well, be safe, Matt the Navigator, and I hope you get home. If you're at the airport, are you traveling? That kind of sucks. Thank you, Simone.
For 5 Maori dollars. Since we've been talking about the sources, layers of Torah, where do you place P? Or sorry, when do you place P? The priestly source kind of has to be before Ezekiel, I think, but how much earlier?
Yeah. I mean, you know, Richard Elliott Friedman likes to place P really early, right? Like he
He
likes an early 7th century
I don't know about
P.
that.
I don't know. I too. I don't know about that. I do tend to think probably it's a development of the new of the Second Temple. I think so, definitely post exilic. And I think certainly before most of the redactional layers in Ezekiel. I also still think though that there's some parts of Ezekiel that are possibly exilic as well. So yeah, I usually when it comes to P, I'm thinking what's his name, Zerubbabel's temple as sort of the earliest point of that. But honestly, I don't know enough about the holiness code either. So or sorry, I guess P. We're talking about P here,
Yeah,
aren't we? Not
just
the
the P
holiness
source.
code. Whoops. Yeah. So the P
Um,
source. So yeah.
Lieutenant
Okay.
Nathanael goes on to clarify that they're not endorsing this misogynistic way of thinking, but just to make mention of it, if Allie Beth was universally following Christian scripture, she wouldn't be trying to correct a man on theology,
She
but she
sure
cherry picks the
wouldn't.
part she likes. The thing is,
That's right. And you know
every
what?
single person who interacts with the text is selective about what they follow and what they consider relevant to their community. Every single person. So
And Allie
they're doing it
gets
the way that they're
Allie
doing
gets
it. If you do it to cause harm versus treating people not in a harmful way, like your attitude as you approach it, I think is a really big deciding factor in how socially acceptable your particular selective reading is. But you can't not be selective because it's not
Allie gets
Sorry.
Allie
do
gets
it.
blowback from that too. Like
Does she?
within her own camp. Yeah, there are guys like you know the from the Doug Wilson types. Those guys
Oh, the
are
guys who are
like
even
they're
actually
like
for real even more turbo racist than she is. Yeah,
yes
they're just out
the
about it.
men she aspires to
Yeah,
will
yeah.
regularly dump on Allie Beth for overstepping.
That's the thing. They're
So
never gonna learn that they're carrying water for people who will throw them under the bus at the first opportunity.
yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
You will
So,
not be protected. So
I'm sorry,
simply
Simone. I don't know why. I think I was just so focused on
Mhm.
the holiness code that I was thinking holiness code. And now I also think P is the pre-exilic at its earliest stage. And one of the reasons I stick to this is because I think that oracle in Jeremiah chapter 4 is like relatively close to an authentic Jeremianic oracle, and he's quoting. I mean, he's citing the P creation story. It's right in there.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's part of my rationale for that. But
Chuck Goodwin says, for a
yeah.
univocal book with no contradictions, Christianity sure has a lot of different sects and or versions. Well, yeah, obviously, because only one of them truly has the Holy Spirit, or the true TM Christians. Everyone else is just fake.
True. So, all right. Anything to say as we wrap up here, Vish?
No, she's just a bigot.
Okay.
And she
We're
can
going
stay
to
mad
be
about it, and all the people who are in their little fifis about using bad words. I'm not going to listen to anything you have to say. Just go watch Apologia's channel. He talks about all this without using evil, bad, meaning cuss words.
That's true. We're going to be on Dapper's channel tomorrow at noon Pacific.
Mhm. Yes.
Because now we just had a time change. You know, we here in British Columbia, that's the last one. We're not doing this shit again.
So
We are
jealous.
we are
Come on,
done.
America, abolish daylight savings time, please.
We are on
Way
daylight
too
savings time.
overdue.
You know, I learned from the premier of British Columbia that we've been the plan was to do this 6 years ago already.
Oh my
That
God.
and we've been waiting because all the Pacific Coast states have been going, "Oh yeah, we're totally doing this too." According to the premier, though, there needs to be a move of Congress in order for that to happen for you guys down there. I don't know how true that is,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
he said, "We just got tired
there
of waiting."
are states individually that choose not to follow it or only to follow it in certain, like, sections,
Yeah,
like Arizona, for
Dapper
instance.
lives in one of
Yeah,
those
they
states.
just don't
Yes.
care. But some of the Native American reservations in Arizona
Yeah,
do
it's
follow
wild.
daylight savings
It's
time, so,
wild.
like, you could drive through any place in Arizona and just cut a straight line, and you could go back and forth between 2 different time zones, so
Yeah.
it's like, ah! So, states could, if they wanted to, just say, "Yeah, we don't follow it anymore." But I personally feel like the whole country should get on board. But
My whole country isn't on board either. So, but we're gonna be on at noon Pacific,
yes,
3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow.
debunking a person who
Tomorrow,
truly believes that the King James English version
yeah,
of the Bible was the original language spoken by God in
the
Eden.
language in Eden. It's pretty crazy. So that's fun. Before that, though, I am going to be on Blasphemers Bible tomorrow
Oh, tomorrow
on
morning?
R and Raw's channel tomorrow morning at
Okay.
9 Pacific,
That's too
noon
early.
Eastern,
What are you
because
reading?
they're reading Psalm 22, and
Oh, still. Okay.
I've done quite a bit of work on it, and I've got some stuff to show from manuscripts of Psalm 22 and the Dead Sea Scrolls that I think are really useful to look at. And I might have said this once or twice already, but I've got some novel scholarship actually that I'm going to show with regards to Psalm 22 verse
Do I
16,
have to tune
17.
in to watch it? 'Cause
You
I don't wanna be
you
awake.
could watch it later. Everybody could watch
Yes.
it
You could
later.
also
So
just send me those sources so I can read them.
I could, well, it's my own work, right? So I mean, I could do that. I could do that.
You
I
could do
have
both.
well, it's a keynote though. I haven't actually written
Same
this
here.
out. But so far, these are just my observations of photographs. So, but I'd like to write this out, maybe present this as a paper and write it up in an article
Hey,
at some
very
point.
cool.
But
Do it.
I think it's pretty cool. So tune in tomorrow for that. And then I think that is it for us. I feel like I've
Are you
got
doing
somewhere
your
to be
Saturday evening
this
show
week.
tomorrow?
No, that was last
Okay.
weekend.
Okay.
So we'll be
Just making sure.
yeah, we're not back for Budget Scripture Saturday this weekend. And
Okay.
I'm just checking my calendar to make sure I'm not missing anything, because I just suddenly had a thought that maybe I booked myself onto something and forgot. So no.
I hate
Okay.
that
We're good.
feeling.
Yes. I am
Okay.
I will say though, I am working pretty hard right now on editing a video that I made with Dr. Josh and Dr. Christy Cobb about slavery in
I'm
the New Testament, and it's going pretty well so far. The plan is to have that available for channel members and patrons before the end of the month. So within the next week or two, I would like to have that done and available. I think it's pretty great. If you join the channel, or if you join my Patreon, you get access to this stuff commercial free ahead of time before everybody else. So yeah, that's coming. All right. Well,
Woohoo!
I'm gonna go and play Viscount Lieutenant Vrelax of the
Yay!
Starship Kongzi in Starship Enterprise,
Tabletop
starting in 25
games.
minutes. Yeah, it's gonna be daylight when we start tonight. That's weird.
I know.
So come watch, everyone, and be
At least I
good.
can actually I can actually walk to shul in the daylight.
Well, yeah, right. That's awesome. Very nice.
Woo!
So
Yeah,
cool.
feels good.
So look after yourselves
Woo! Okay.
and look after
Be excellent
everyone.
to each other.
And as always, hot tikva.